Have you ever lost a case?
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on, man.
Every time
Not
I
against
see
the NFL.
Every time I see the guy win.
But you know what?
Winner.
We were talking about this before because you've been a prosecutor before.
Long time.
And you were a defense attorney.
Long time.
You probably lost more cases as defense attorney, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, because
you know what? I take it back. Actually, that's probably not true. I mean,
at least percentage-wise.
Yeah, probably percentage-wise.
Because the odds are, when you're a prosecutor, you're really only supposed to bring cases forward that you fully expect to win.
Well, and
when you're a defense attorney, you're getting paid, so you got to deal with what you have.
Well, and that was about my business.
Right.
So, no, I mean, look, you take the job seriously. The conversation with Roger, look, he has his opinion.
But it's a popular opinion. I get
most
bombarded.
people agreed with him.
I get bombarded all the time, and I have this problem when I defend Matt. When I defend anybody that I know, we all know D. I can't be objective, right? D's our friend, so I can't be objective at all, and I get passionate about it. So people hit me up all the time. Well, the players agreed to let Roger, to let the commissioner mete out the punishment and handle the appeal so he can do whatever he wants. And I go crazy because, no, that doesn't mean he could do whatever he wants.
He still has to be fair.
He still has to be within reason. People don't understand that.
Well, people don't want to.
I go crazy. How do you not go crazy?
But, D, what was
That's
unfair
why
here?
he's representing the NFLPA. You're not.
I didn't read Judge Berman's decision.
Oh, come
too
on.
many pages.
It was no
All right,
pictures.
So, I need
I'm going to make like a graphic. I'm going to make a graphic example of the whole thing. I'm going
to read the article.
Give me a whiteboard.
Wasn't it 40 pages? That's a lot.
40 pages.
40 pages. That's asking a lot, D.
Yeah, 40 pages, unnecessary.
There were things underlined. You should have just read the bold part.
That's what I
mean,
do.
there was okay.
We need the Cliff Notes version.
I mean, back when I was in high school, it was Cliff Notes, there was Barron Notes. I did them all.
There was the dude sitting next to you.
That may have happened too.
Say, find the Asian guy.
You know what? Look, you can't confirm any of that ever
Find the
happened.
Asian or the Indian. One of those two.
Hey, look,
Especially in math class.
I did cheat off a guy whose last name was Chang in geometry. I just did. Look, I'm not
George told me not to do this.
I'm not proud of it.
He told me not to do this.
Yeah, you should have
But D,
listened.
what I would ask
I
you,
should have listened.
so
I should have listened.
from the NFLPA's perspective, all right, you're always going to defend your players, but had the Wells decision, for example, they said was not independent. So had Roger Goodell gone to you and said, we want to find an independent investigator, and you guys were on board with a certain law firm,
Sure.
would you have been okay with whatever that decision was from that independent? Because one of the main things that I took away from reading the bullet points was Judge Berman said that this was an unfair deal, and part of it was that Wells was not independent.
Absolutely. I mean,
Goodell should have gone to you, and you guys should have agreed on an independent investigator.
What should have happened was we should have long ago decided mutually what the process was going to be in all of these cases.
Okay.
I mean, look, this is the same argument that we raised in Bounty and won. So we aren't arguing anything new. What we have said from the beginning is we should have a collectively bargained process whereby we conduct investigations, the commissioner issues discipline, it's reviewed by a neutral arbitrator, and we're done.
Right.
I mean, look.
But everybody argues, though, D, always, and you know I have your back.
Yeah.
Everyone always says, well, the players gave that up, so they deserve this. The players gave that up. Explain that process for people that don't understand.
Hey, look, the collective bargaining process is tough. I mean, it is the most aggressive fight between labor and management. When we sat down with the owners in 2009 and started to negotiate the new collective bargaining agreement, there was a list of issues that we fought through.
Right.
The issue of the personal conduct policy and a neutral arbitrator to review a commissioner's discipline was huge on the list. They didn't want to move.
Right.
They didn't want to do anything.
Right.
Every time that issue was brought up, it was a non-starter.
Right.
So you move on to another issue.
Just like for you, a non-starter was an 18-game schedule.
Absolutely. I mean, this is exactly the same thing. Nobody turns to Roger and says, man, you guys gave up 18 games. You guys gave up on the idea. How come you? Well, no. We opposed it, and we didn't do it.
We can't force you guys to play it.
We didn't get a limo to and from work every day in our latest contract
That's exactly
negotiation.
it. Here's what we do. I mean, literally, it's a boring job. We find out what the league does. We lay the collective bargaining agreement next to it, and we ask whether what they've done comports to it. That's it. I wish it was more complicated than that. But
it sounds plenty complicated from this end.
Can you go back to the word comport? But what we do is we measure what the commissioner does against the collective bargaining agreement. The collective bargaining agreement says the commissioner shall issue punishment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any problem if he issues punishment. I have a problem if that punishment is unfair. I have a problem if that punishment is inconsistent. I have a problem if it applies the wrong rules. I have a problem if he says he uses an independent investigator and he doesn't.
How much does it even matter to the NFLPA if Brady was actually culpable? Or are you just looking at it from a procedural standpoint?
Both. I mean, look, when let's go back to Bounty. When I first heard the allegations in the Bounty case, and let's just remember what that is. The league came to us and said that and I'm paraphrasing, that there's a marauding group of players who are literally putting contracts or hits on other players out there on the field. Nothing can be more of an anathema to the
what
Players
does that word
Association.
mean? I've never heard that.
Nothing
Never
can
heard that
bad.
word
Why do you
Nothing
have
can
to
be.
use that?
Well, I'm a lawyer. I
that's-
get paid by the word.
Hold
I
on.
get paid by the
That-
word.
What was
I've
the
never
word
heard
again?
that word.
Anathema.
I forget. Where did you go to college and where'd you go?
I'm going to use that on Words with Friends.
Where'd you go to law school?
Went to law school, University of Virginia. The league fined Brett Favre for not turning over his phone. So there was a precedent. And Judge Berman's problem and our problem was the punishment imposed on Tom Brady was inconsistent with the precedent. So at one point during the hearing, Judge Berman, turned to the league's lawyer and said, I got a simple question for you. What part of the penalty was for the phone destruction? What part of the penalty was for the deflated balls?
Right.
And the league's lawyer said, I don't know.
Right.
He actually said that.
Busted.
Caller,
It's nice
you're
when-
just
So
not,
when he
you're-
says, I don't know, are you fist pumping under the table?
There's a little bit of
I
a
forgot.
Well,
Actually, he's probably laughing because most lawyers got to come up with some answer.
Was the
I mean, that's like
Favre-
law school 101.
Was the
Just
Favre
talk.
deal with the phone, was that the dong pick phone deal?
I've got to
I
believe
think
so.
it's in my file under
Dong
dong.
pick.
Yeah, that's
No,
how we
no, but-
Well, it
file
should
it.
But
be.
D, it's a matter.
I mean, it would be fun to have sort of bigger, larger conversations about LA and investing in team stadiums, extra playoff games. But this takes up a lot of bandwidth, and it definitely does sour the relationship that my executive committee has towards the league. And look, at the end of the day, let's not forget. I mean, I work for players, and I report to an executive committee. And right now, the level of distrust and animosity between the league and the union is at an all-time high.
Is it?
Explain the concussion protocol and how that happened, because some will say, oh, they just didn't want to play RG3.
Yeah, we will continue to look at that issue. The concussion protocol is something that, again, is collectively bargained. The players insisted on a defined protocol for how a player is evaluated if you think that he has a concussion. And then there is a defined protocol for how a player is cleared to come back to resume practice. So whether it was an issue of whether he came back too soon, we'll take a look at it. Whether it was an issue of who cleared him, who didn't clear him, who did not clear him, who made the decision that he was ready to come back, all of those are things that we care about because I insist on a protocol that is transparent and fair for the player. We just care about the player's health.